happen, and nothing happened.
I know. There we are. We're live.
Yeah.
Live. It worked. The circle of death finally got bored.
Finally. Yeah. We got there.
Just spinning and spinning and spinning. Fantastic. Well, we are back. I'm so excited. We're back, Susie. This is our third Angels in Action.
I know. Wow. Finally doing it. We're getting
on
regular.
a roll. I'm so excited. Yeah. And today, welcome everyone to Angels in Action number 3.
Yay.
Thanks to Susie, we finally have our YouTube page set up. It would not let us do that for the first 2 weeks, and she had to keep uploading it. But this week she got it connected. And so you guys can watch on Facebook and you can watch on YouTube live now. If you want to check out our YouTube channel, it is listed actually in the banner, and I think it's listed in the description as well. So, yay! Lots of options now. So just a reminder to everyone, if you want us to see your comments and you are watching on YouTube, please make sure that you have to subscribe to our YouTube channel. In order for us to be able to see your comments, or for you to be able to comment. And then on Facebook, you just have to log into StreamYard. You don't have to pay for anything. Just log on. Once you register, it's super easy. Then if you log on through there, you can watch through any of the groups and pages we have listed here. And then you will come up with your name. We'll know who we're talking to. It won't just say Facebook user. So just a little info for all of you viewers today. Yeah. So
it's nice to know I'm watching YouTube and it's streaming beautifully. So
wonderful. Perfect.
Yeah, getting to see myself in triplicate now. So I've got YouTube, checking Facebook, and we're good for all of them. So yay!
Perfect. Fantastic.
Although it's a bit strange seeing the slight lag.
I know. It's so great. We have so many options, to connect here with everyone. And, we're here, guys, to, we're talking about anything metaphysical. We're talking about angels and spirit guides and how they are real and active in your own life, and also how you can connect with them better. Anything that has to do with angels and spirit guides in the metaphysical or in our physical world here, we're here to answer your questions and to talk to you about. And then we always are drawn to a few people that during this broadcast, as we move forward further along in the broadcast, we're open to readings as well. But, I don't know, specifically what Susie's priorities are on this, but I know my priority every time I get on and I'm doing readings or talking about anything metaphysical is to bring the spirit world, the metaphysical, the aspects of our whole self and our whole reality into our little narrow world, so that we're not just looking at our lives as us being physical bodies or in a physical world with a soul and a spirit world, but to act a little more like some of the ancient cultures and the Native Americans, where it was very integrated into their everyday life. We're talking to spirit, listening to angels, working together with angels and spirit guides. And the spirit world was actually a way of life, because we're here to live that way. And when we don't, we really cut ourselves off. So good to see you today, Susie. You look beautiful.
Thank you very much. Very well rested. Just been hibernating since the weekend, really. The weather here has been atrocious, so haven't wanted to go out. Well, it's that time of year, isn't it? Storms and wind and rain, and I have to be honest, I'm not a winter person. I like to hibernate in the winter. So just spent the weekend catching up on some reading some of the books that my mum's given me. I'm a bit of once I get started, I can be a bit of a prolific reader. So I managed to read two books in one day. But just chilling and really sort of looking at what we've been doing now, looking at where I'm taking sort of my angel work, I guess. So very much like you were just saying, wanting to help others, to learn how to connect, to work with angel energy, spirit energy, whichever sort of way your energy feels, you know, because not working with spirits, not for everybody, and working with angels is a different energy again. Hi, Chrissy, love to see you.
Welcome, Chrissy.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm checking out YouTube here myself.
Coming to visit. So yeah, so that's sort of where I'm at as well. You know, I guess my inspiration for that comes from many years ago. Obviously, I've shared my story about the passing of my husband and how that brought in my very first angelic visit and vision, and that still lives with me to this day. And then it was probably another 9 or 10 years really before I sort of truly began to embrace the angelic energies and working with them. I think I sort of dipped in and out with it before that. You know, I did a few little courses, but I had so much else going on work-wise and everything. I didn't really fully, I guess, take it on board or embrace it or do anything with it. And then I had to declare myself bankrupt. And as a result of that, ended up moving in with my parents for what I hoped was going to be a brief period of time, but actually ended up being about 8 months. But the angels worked their magic, as they always do. But that's when I really embraced what was going on. And one of the reasons that it really impacted on me was, obviously, you know, I had a huge amount of debt. I had to relinquish my home to what we call the official receiver over here, and then they take it and sell it and use the money to pay off all the debt that, you know, you've got in your life because of that. And shortly after that happened to me, there was a newspaper article in our local evening paper here where I live, and a young man, probably, I think, if I recall correctly, same sort of age range as me, so, you know, late 30s, early 40s, had same situation going on, but very sadly took his own life and left behind a family, children. And I just read it and my heart just broke. It just wept, because I knew, for me, that in that moment, if I could have been a beacon of light for him and helped him to understand that once you hit rock bottom, really and truly, there's only one way out, and that's back up again, you know. But you have to make that choice. You have to do that. But the angels and working with the angelic energies obviously brought me to a position where I was able to understand that, to have that awareness, and to know that no matter how bad my life had got, you know, and I did feel like I'd hit rock bottom, that there was nowhere else to go, that over time things do improve, things can get better. You have to just trust in that flow of energy, trust in the guidance that you start to receive, and do the work as well. Obviously, you know, it's not and yeah, it just, and that was sort of, I guess, a bit of a pivotal moment for me, in that I just thought, if I can help people connect with work with angelic energies, work with spirit, however they want to work, and it just helps one person turn their life around, you know, then that's what I would, yeah, that's what I want to do. So that's what sort of, I guess, really inspired me to start moving forward with the angelic work and really start to help others shift. And you know, shift doesn't always happen immediately. It can be a process of time. You know, it's, I think sometimes we get so hooked into the real world, if you like, which we have to live in, of course. You know, I'm not saying we shouldn't, but we get so hooked into what's going on around us with other people, with society, with peer pressure. And we begin to, I think, almost expect things to happen immediately and have instant changes. But when I look back now, you know, my changes were slow and gradual. And as I said, I ended up living with my parents, for which I was very grateful. And I practiced that gratitude. And then when I was practicing gratitude and just saying, I'm really grateful, I'm thankful I've got a roof over my head, I didn't really either understand the process of the art of gratitude. That came later. So there were sort of little things that I feel I was being inspired to do from the angelic realms that I started doing and now realize were, are practices that we can all embrace. So, yeah, so the 3 months I ended up living with my parents, that was my plan, ended up being about 8 or 9 months. And what happened at the end of that was I was guided to find a lady who was teaching about angels, went on her spiritual courses, and as a part of the process of working with her, things started to move, my energy shifted, my sort of beliefs, if you like, changed as well, and began to shift the premise of what was happening for me, to the point that I'd got so much, I'd managed to save a certain amount of money ready for renting a property, and I was short by £1,000, which probably equates to around $1,400–1,500. And I remember being at work one day and one of my colleagues was asking me about why I was living with my parents. Now, I'm a very open person. I don't hide things, I'm prepared to talk about my life and things, but I don't go splashing it everywhere either. If I'm asked, I'm happy to share. So she'd asked me about what had happened, so I was telling her, and one of my other colleagues overheard me. And a bit later on in the morning, he called me to one side. He said, "Can I just ask you a question?" He said, "Did I hear you say you're going bankrupt and you live with your parents?" So I was like, "Oh, yes, I did." So I told him what had happened, told him the story. And he said, "The only reason I'm asking," he said, "is my sister's in the same situation." Now, he was Czech and his sister lived in the Czech Republic. So obviously things for them were different. But he said, "I just wanted to sort of share your experience," he said, "so that I can share it with her to make her feel not so alone." So that in itself was like, wow, this is, inspired in whatever way, because here I was through an intermediary going to be helping somebody else, totally unintentionally, never thought it would happen. But the outcome of the conversation was that I told him about how much money I'd got and what I needed. He lent me the remaining money. And a week before, I'd just gone to the universe, "Please help me find the rest of this money so that I can move into this house." And that's what happened. I mean, there's a bit more to it than that, but that's the sort of synopsis of that, of how angels can help you, about how you can be in the right place, the right time, how somebody or something can inspire a conversation, and the things that maybe you overhear or somebody overhears you, as did with me, and then it evolves into that helping hand. So I'm always saying, be open. When people ask me, well, how do you get angelic messages? It's not always about what you get in your own notion of knowing, or clairvoyantly or clairaudiently. It can be something as simple as a conversation that you're having with somebody else. It can be the book that somebody gives you and you open it up and you read a chapter and you just think, wow, that's really, brought me an answer that I was looking for. So yes, in short, I want to help others find their way in this world. I'm just going to, I see you've been doing some lovely hellos to everybody. Hi.
So one of the things that, comes to mind as Susie's talking, and, it's, again, for both of us, I feel like we're on a precipice of really transforming. At least this is something I've wanted to do for a very long time. Transforming the concept of readings and of angel work. And this is one of the first things Susie and I spoke about when we first started chatting, before we even had the concept of doing this. And it's because so much of what happens in a reading is really outdated now. Typically when we think of a reading, we think of going to a reader to get answers, to be told what to do, to be told what not to do. We look at that guidance as being told what to do. But this is, what I'm going to say here is really, really significant. And for some of you, it's really going to sink in and you're going to have an aha moment. And for others, you're going to be like, it's not going to register at all. But what spirit and the angelic world, our spirit guides, our loved ones, what they perceive and their work with and for us, their purpose with us, their way of communicating and connecting, their guidance is so very different than how we perceive it to be or what we think it is as human beings. And if you want to get a glimpse into understanding where they're coming from, because remember, they know more than you do. They know more than we do, which is why I always tell people I trust spirit, right? I have to trust spirit. So that's why even if on a reading, if I say this is coming through or they're sharing this and the person starts arguing with me, no, that doesn't resonate with me, no, whatever. Hi, Suzanne, welcome. I will tell the person straight up, you might think I'm arguing with you, but I'm going to stay persistent if spirit stays persistent, because I might not be interpreting it in a way you understand it yet. Spirit and I might be working hard to help me deliver the message in a way that it resonates with you. But that doesn't mean what the reader is saying is wrong. Again, there's this element of patience and process in a reading that also happens in life. And I'm always amazed by the readings. They might not always start out to be accurate or relatable to the person, but they always come full circle because spirit knows how to come through us if we allow it. So my point here is, like Michelle mentioned in her hello, wanting change, needing change. There's a difference between change and transformation. We can change our clothes all we want. We can always go back to the clothes we had on before, right? But if I were to take this sweater and get my sewing machine out and transform it into a vest or something else, completely change it, change the body size, take out parts of the material and add other parts, I'm transforming it, right? So what you guys really want on a daily level, on a mindset level, on a choices level, yeah, you want change, because habits and repetition create your life, and habits of repetition of change create transformation. They're two very different things. What you really want is transformation. So remember, Dr. Joe says, in order to have a new reality, you must create a new personality. How do we do that? By changing our mindset every time we make a decision, every time we perceive something. It's the hard little work, the little decisions, the little shifts in perception. If you go on a diet, say a healthy diet, not just a quick lose weight diet, you're not going to see immediate results. But 3 to 6 months down the road, isn't your body and the way you feel and your energy level transformed? That transformation can't happen overnight. It happens because each and every time you decide what you eat, when you eat, how you eat, what, when, and how you drink, you are creating change. And change exists within transformation. So I'm sharing this because the angels are not actually here. When you come to a reading, and you'll notice this when we give you guys readings, they're not here to tell you what to do. They're here to guide and empower you. They will give you guidance. But because you chose to come into this world and live and have this human existence with limited perception, they are here to guide that. And so are your spirit guides. Okay.
Hi, Beth.
Hi, Beth. Hi, Suzanne. So I think this is just really important for you guys to keep in mind, because our perception of the angels and why they're there, why our spirit guides are there, us thinking, oh, they're not giving us answers. They're always giving us answers. They're always supporting and guiding us. But we have to, this is why you'll hear me obsess over, you have to become aware of the difference between your mind or your ego and your eternal consciousness, because your eternal consciousness thinks like an angel, thinks and perceives like a spirit guide, but your ego and your mind doesn't. So when you go into a reading or join us for something like this and you're listening to what we're saying, be very vigilant, be aware, be the gatekeeper. How are you perceiving this? Through which lens? Through the lens of the ego that's in a place of need, that wants immediate gratification because that's how we're all brainwashed? Or from your place of eternal consciousness, where you can slip into the messages that the angels and spirit guides have for you? I think that's really important. And you might have to go back and listen to this again, but that's something that we try to get across when we're working with you. Yes, small changes go into big transformation.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
Changes live and exist within transformation.
Hi, Maria.
Yes. Hello,
yeah,
Maria.
I mean, the aspect of that brings to mind for me is, I think it was you and I that were, blessed Monday to you too, sweetheart. Thank you so much. Lovely to see you. I think it was you and I that were having the conversation the other day about how much of a wallflower I was when I was younger, you know, and if it wasn't you, then it would have been somebody else.
We talked about that.
But I mean, prior to my mid-30s, I was very much a wallflower. I was the shy little girl at school. You know, I had a group of friends who were all, you know, they were all beautiful and pretty, and the boys all loved them, and I was like the little tag along behind them. And that's how I felt. I'm quite sure if I talked to them now, that wouldn't be their perception of our friendship. But that's how I felt, and I would never say anything to anybody. I wouldn't put myself out there, you know, at school discos, things like that. I was always hiding in the shadows, you know. I wouldn't stand. I wasn't bullied badly at school, but I was bullied. I remember one particular girl who would call me all sorts of names, and she'd walk past me and would just constantly poke fun at me and say stuff. And because of that, I just became very, very introverted. So when I was at home, I was very much a bookworm. You know, I buried myself in books and reading and things like that. And it was only really, I mean, even at work up until my 30s, I very much was the follower. You know, I didn't, if my boss said jump, I would be the one that would say how high, you know, and just do what I was told. But gradually, after my connecting and working with crystals and meditation and angels, and obviously within all that, there comes mindset work. You may not realize it at the time. It may not be as obvious as if you're going into like mindset coaching or something like that, but it certainly does change your mindset, you know. And over the years, I then realized that I had transformed. I was this different person, you know. I was quite happy to speak up for myself. I was quite happy to speak up on behalf of my colleagues at work. You know, if my boss said to me jump, I'd say why, not how high, you know. So I did change in that respect as well. And if you'd said to me back in my late 20s, I would be sat here now doing this, I'd have gone, no way, not not a chance, you know. I wouldn't say boo. I just wouldn't do it. I just wouldn't have said boo to a goose. So yeah, so I do think it becomes a gradual process as well, and it's not about the immediate, like you were saying, the immediate gratification of change. We have to do it a bit at a time, because also as well, I think if we bite off too much, it becomes overwhelming.
It does. And I think it's important sometimes to bring up things that may be a little controversial, because it's a line that you guys have to cross every day. with my coaching clients, I get to see them 2 or 3 times a week and go over this. With you guys, we see you once a week for a short time, but it's so important that, and we'll get to your comments in just a minute, Maria. Hello, welcome. I just want to cough this up while it's coming through me. We get so much bombardment that you're not aware of. And with my coaching clients, I can constantly say, okay, be aware of where your programming is coming from. On here, we've got once a week to remind you guys, be aware of what is really you and what is, we have this mass programming that encourages us in ways that are actually counteractive with spirit. They're counteractive with our nervous system, with our well-being. They say, don't be impatient. They say there's a wedding dress sale, get to it first, stand on the street all night so you can get in first. And then people fight over the wedding dresses. They say immediate gratification, and it's really all based on controlling the masses and making money. But if you want to step into your power, which Susie was really referring to in another way, if you want to step in your power, it starts with self-awareness. And so the angels and the spirit guides will always encourage that. So when you come to a reader or you get intuitive messages and you're following them and you're wanting changes, and you're caught up in measuring how long things are taking to shift, just like the person Susie was talking about that she knew years ago that she saw in the paper that had given up on his life. Everything is in process, and it takes a long time to make this shift in your perspective, in your perception, but everything is in process. There is no true immediate gratification other than what you can shift inside. You can shift immediately inside, but life is a process. It took you a long time, whether you recognize this or not. It took you a long time to get where you are right now in your life, whether that be something you like or something you don't like. And it is going to take a while to get to a place that you prefer, because our external world is a projection of our internal. So when you are working with spirit guides and angels, they are nudging us, make that tough choice, get out of that comfort zone, follow your intuition. They're not just like a person telling you from the outside, this is what you need to do. You know why? Because it is your power of choice, your free will, that solidifies you in the inside, that builds your confidence, that shifts you into your power. And if anyone or anything else does that for you, you lose that opportunity. So they're there, and we're here to help them guide you to do that. And those are just some mindset shifts that will be really empowering for you to make. I see you guys are sharing this. Thank you. Do you want to read the question, Susie, since I was talking?
Well, Maria was just asking, just commenting and saying, I wish I could get my daughter to do this. She was just the opposite. She was an extrovert, and now she's become an introvert. That's a challenging one to answer in some respects, because without sort of knowing the background, and obviously we don't want to go into too deep personal details on here, as to why she's changed that. Sometimes going from being an extrovert to being an introvert, depending on the reasons why that's happened and what's causing that situation for her, I would say, is it a bad thing or is it a good thing? It's neither or, because for us, for me, there is no good or bad. There is just energy that shifts and changes. And it may be that, when you think of the extroverts that can be out there, sometimes that can be hiding something as well. So is being an extrovert a good thing? Is being an introvert it's hard to determine what you could do here. But I feel that if there's one little step that she could take that could help her, I would say start meditating. Get her into some form of meditation so that she can become aware of why she's shifted this dynamic, and Is it benefiting her? It might be benefiting her. She may no longer want to be the life and soul of the party. Okay. All right, lovely. Thanks, Maria. So that gives us a little bit more of a background. Yeah. So, that in itself, that is a whole different scenario, really. And I can only imagine how heartbreaking it must be for you to see that that's taking place. But I'm speaking for myself, and I'm sure Larkin will agree with me here. This is about taking personal responsibility. At the end of the day, you can only watch, support, be there for her when she needs you. But ultimately, she is the one that has to say, I'm taking responsibility for my life, and I am no longer prepared to take on board what's going on. I need to change this. And until she gets to that point, really, and I speak from some experience here as a mother, the only thing you can do is be there to support her when she needs it. And that's maybe not what you want to hear. But yeah, unfortunately, I have to say that you're saying here, she feels trapped and wants to leave, but feels like she can't because of her child. I also understand the difficulties there, but I've got a very good friend who walked away from a relationship in very similar circumstances with her children. So it's all about taking responsibility, making the right choice for yourself, and where needed, your child as well. Now, I'm not advocating that you go away and tell your daughter this is what she must do or has got to do. She has to, with support, come to those choices herself. And if meditating and calling on the angels can help bring her some support and guidance in that respect, then that's where I feel she could and maybe should start, is just trying out meditation, some quiet time alone, just to see where this flow of energy comes from. I know Larkin will have something to say on this with a different perspective point as well.
Hopefully a little different. Yeah. Let's see. Maria says, yeah, I'm trying, Susie. You and I have known each other for years. Let's see. And I trust your advice. Wonderful. Well, I'm going to chime in anyway, Maria. So from my psychology background, this is not atypical, as Susie knows, from being with a narcissist. This is what happens when you get with a narcissist. It is not that you go from being extrovert to introvert. So I want to kind of clarify that terminology there, because that's not really what's happening. That's what seems like what's happening on the outside. So extrovert and introvert have nothing to do with how friendly, social, how much you speak your mind or anything. Believe it or not, I am an extreme introvert. I am always talking. I am always socializing and friendly with people when I'm out and about. And no one can believe that I'm an introvert. Okay. But I am. So all introvert and extrovert actually means is that you recharge with people or alone. So most people are a little bit of both with, and I'm a little bit of both, but I'm way on the introverted side. The more introverted you are, the more time you want and need alone, because that's how you recharge. And whereas extroverted people, they actually really need to go out and get energy from other people. So in a situation with your daughter, for example, it probably is more difficult. Being with a narcissist is never easy, but probably is more difficult actually being with a narcissist, because a person that is more introverted will naturally be introverted anyway, right? So they might go off and take their walks and not change their routine as much with a narcissist as an extrovert might. Whereas as soon as you get with an extrovert, they kind of isolate you. And it's, as Susie said, it's your choice. It really is her choice. And I know that's hard to accept, but it is. And I've been there several times. So I know that it doesn't feel like your choice. In society, we're not taught it's our choice. But one of the things that can be beneficial to your daughter is in holding space for her, in gentle, subtle conversation, reminding her, not in a way that she's going to get defensive, because I've been coaching this for over 15 years, and almost everyone I know becomes defensive when you tell them they have choices they're not aware of, right?
Because the lady in question's just joined us in the chat, Larkin. Her name's Jenny.
Welcome.
So,
but I'm going to carry on with what I was saying anyway.
Yeah, please do. Yeah,
it doesn't matter. So welcome, Jenny. Good to see you. But we always have choices that we're not aware of. And so when we become aware of the power of our choice, which we can only do through experience, it is phenomenal, the shifts that we can make. Okay. But I think it is important to understand that, when we're, to balance out if we are introverted or extroverted, just to understand that that simply means what we need to recharge, and to make sure, no matter who we are, that if we're in situations that change that, if you are an extrovert and you need to get out and be around people, to make that a priority, no matter what type of situation or relationship you're in. If you are an introvert and you're not getting that anymore, that alone time, to find that time to be introspective, to walk, to dance, to sing, to cook, to journal, because that empowers us. Okay. Thank you, Maria. Welcome. Yes, Suzanne. Positive mindset. Yes.
Absolutely. Right. I'm just thank you, Maria, and hopefully, Jenny, that's helped you a little bit. And if you weren't here from what we first said, you maybe can go watch the replay. I was just about to highlight that one as well. Thanks, Larkin.
I know we do it together or we compete, one or the other on the chats. It's dangerous, ladies, having two of us on here where we can select the chat, because like last week we were both cutting each other off. But I didn't even know that could happen until last week. So
yeah.
Anyway.
So Suzanne's just sharing with us, there's a traumatic situation today. My friend's dog had to rush to the vets as he was very poor. I asked the angels and the universe to step in and help. I got a call from her to say there was a change, to which that allowed the vet to do the operation. No news of the outcome yet, still working on the dog. So first of all, sending you lots of healing vibes, energy, and positive thoughts for this beautiful fur baby to have the right outcome. Larkin and I are very much animal lovers. I'm surprised our dogs are being so quiet behind us.
Oh, I've had to get up twice because of my little guy. Yes.
So we totally understand what's going on here. And yes, calling in the angels to help has obviously brought some sort of energy flow there as well. So we'll send little prayers out for a positive outcome. But these are the situations where we can just call on their divine inspiration, guidance, energy, and just trust in something that's going to happen. We have to let it go as well, not keep on repeating, because again, that sort of, for me, brings out a lack of trust as well in what we're asking them to help us with. So that's beautiful, Suzanne. Thank you for sharing that.
I want to comment on this, and then I want to go back and respond to you, Jenny. So I want to throw this out there about animals too. They come with a purpose, they have a soul, and they come for us specifically. And oftentimes when they're going through a difficult time, it's for them to learn and grow and evolve, just like our challenges are opportunities for us. But a lot of times they come and they choose to go through difficult times because of how it affects us, because it helps us to learn and grow. And so a lot of times the pain that we feel and experience through them going through something is, their soul and our soul working together for our evolution too. It's usually for both of our evolution. And, both in, anything you guys are going through, whether we're talking about Jenny's situation or whether we're talking about the dog that you're referring to, Suzanne, one of the greatest things, and I'm very much of a nurturer, and I don't have physical children of my own, but believe me, if I did, I would still love my pets just as much. I've had to apply a lot of this stuff to my sister and my family and my pets. And there is no limit to, for me, when I'm loving a soul, I'm loving a soul. And no matter how much you talk or try or struggle with things, one of the things that Eckhart Tolle talks about a lot that most people miss, but when I applied it, because application is what is going to really empower you guys, not thinking about it, not reading about it, not hearing about it, but taking the action. And one of the things is holding space. So when you hold space, and this is really, I mean, I've worked for hours on end with clients over the years. So this isn't something that might click or resonate with you immediately, because it's not something that we're familiar with. But when you hold space for someone, and that means you observe, you listen, you are still, you are in the now with your attention towards them without judgment, without being overwhelmed with emotion, just accepting, surrendering. There is it's so powerful. That is what actually, that Samson, that is relevant. That's the most powerful thing you can ever do. And after years of trying to help loved ones or animals or people with things, as soon as I was present, sometimes even just one time with someone, they got it for themselves and they created miracles. So if you want to create miracles for others or yourself, holding space, not doing anything, just being with them and accepting them unconditionally for who and what they are and the situation for what it is. See, what does that do? It eliminates the resistance. And resistance is synonymous with your thoughts, with the mind and the body, right? With all the emotions that you have about things. And so as soon as we let go of the resistance, remember, what you resist persists, then guess what? God, source, spirit, the universe can move things forward. When we resist things, when we don't like them, when we're fighting them, we hold them in our space. So I just want to share that with you. No matter what you're trying to heal or who you're trying to help, that surrender is the hardest thing to do, because it's the mind it's the mind having to let go of the illusion of control of the situation. And the truth is, you don't have control of the situation. You only have control over your choices. And Jenny, I want to throw this in there before I turn it back over to Susie, because this is really important. I feel I'm both, let's see, but getting the time. Let's see, why isn't it showing up here? Hold on.
I'd already done it and you've just.
Oh, okay.
There we go. It's there now.
Sorry, I thought I still saw the dog one. I feel I'm both getting the time to do it is hard. Right. So, but that right there is the rub. See, Jenny, that is the rub. That is the mind. The mind is perceiving the time is the obstacle. And the truth is that this is where people will argue with me on this, or anyone. That is the obstacle that is the opportunity. See, guys, this is like magic. Like, if you can get this, you can transform anything. That is the glitch right there. If the very thing you say that is your obstacle is the thing you make the change in, I know I always do this, but I want you guys to remember the words. That's what creates the transformation. It's doing the thing you haven't done before, doing the thing you think you can't do, doing the thing you think is in your way. That is what sets you free. Doing the thing you've never done before. And sometimes that means, I mean, I've had to do that with, you know, with a narcissist when I broke up and we had pets. And my border collie was like this guy's child. She adored him. I was better for her, but she adored him. And I literally put off a breakup for years because of my border collie. Her short little life. I thought, I'll just wait it out for the rest of her life. And it was one of the hardest things I ever had to do. Those of you that maybe are just, you know, have kids and aren't into dogs may not get this, but it's like, it was my kid. But you know what? The yelling and screaming stopped. The fight stopped. Her being scared every time we would fight stopped. And in the end, it was better. But I was like, I can't because of this dog, because of my Jagsy. So we've all had to do it, but just, just food for thought. It doesn't mean you're going to go out there and make the changes overnight, but the angels and the spirit guides will always encourage you with little reminders to make those choices you think you can't make. And you know what happens when you do? You become confident and you start to get on the other side of your pain and trauma and turmoil. And then you look back and you think, and only when you get on the other side can you do this. God, am I glad I'm not there anymore. Boy, am I so proud of myself for making that decision.
Yeah. I mean, I sort of want to touch on this, but from perhaps a different perspective, because what I'm loving about us doing this together is when we talk, I'm inspired by little moments of thoughts to remind me of a situation that I've been in or had to deal with, because I think sometimes we can say what we mean and do it, but until we get like a bit of an example of how it's worked for somebody else, it's sort of, for me anyway, it sort of sinks in better if I've got a little story to follow. So what I was being reminded of there is I spent probably on and off about 2.5 years working with an amazing lady. She initially came to me for a reading. She wanted to connect with her mum in spirit. We did the readings, but over time it gradually evolved into more coaching and working with her. She had a lot of things going on, nothing like this situation, but still things that impacted her life. And one of the things she would say to me regularly, without fail, every time we got together was, but I don't have the time. I can't do that because I haven't got time. So we got to a point where I just said, right, okay, do you bath or do you shower? Now, this may sound completely random, but that's the question I asked her. And I'm sure you're all doing the same, going, what? She looked at me quite blankly and said, what's that got to do with anything? I said, do you bath or do you shower? So she said, well, I take a bath. I said, okay. I said, and how long do you spend in the bathroom? So she said, well, I don't know, half an hour, 40 minutes maybe. So I said, okay. I said, so instead of spending that length of time in the bathroom, what if you took 10 minutes of that time off and spent that 10 minutes doing this little exercise that I'm sharing with you, want you to do, if you choose to, because everything is about our own individual choice. And you will hear me say that a lot. I said, so what if you did that? And she looked at me and went, well, okay, I guess I could try. So this is where Larkin would say resistance. And we love working with resistance. And she went away, and hand on heart, I truly didn't expect her to do it because of that resistance. Anyway, she came back probably about 3 months later, and she was like, her first words out of her mouth was, oh my God, you're amazing. I was like, oh, okay, thank you. That's very nice of you to say. Yeah, okay. Why? What have I done? Because oftentimes when I'm working, things are inspired, they're intuitive. So I honestly don't always remember what I've said. But of course, this has stayed because then I've followed it up. And she said, well, you told me to spend slightly less time in the bathroom and to sit and do this exercise for 10 minutes. She said, my bath time was always interrupted by my children. She had 2 daughters at the time. She said, they always interrupted me. She said, but the second that I made that intention to sort of take 10 minutes out and sit and do what it was you asked me to do, she said, they stopped interfering with me. She said, my bath time became quiet. And then she said, I found that 10 minutes became 20 and became half an hour and then an hour. So I think what I'm trying to share here is that you may not think you've got the time, but there will be somewhere in your day. And I think Suzanne's just said everyone has 24 hours, so true. Somewhere in your day, there will be a little area where you can take that time to do this. What I'm sharing was a little meditation, some quiet time, just to allow yourself to be with yourself and just allow the energy of the angels to flow to you. Now, it may be that you may not get an instant feel or response to it within the first few times of doing it, but the more that you do it, the more you will find that that time expands. Time is linear. It's not, we can talk about quantum physics and all sorts as we go on about time and everything, but it does expand. And I have found that to be so true, because for me, when I was doing something, I'd be like, oh my God, it's only been half an hour, but I've done so much in that half an hour, because it does expand. I can't explain how or why. That's not my field. I just trust it, and I know that that's what happens. So I think, as Larkin says, change the way you perceive that comment. I feel I'm both, but getting the time to do that is hard. Only hard because of the resistance that's going in there. When something is flowing and you're in the right present now moment, it flows with ease and grace. And that may not be something that will resonate for you at this moment in time, but the more you practice, and that's all it is, and it's practice, just having fun, practicing, just thinking to yourself, right, I'm taking a bath, but instead of sitting in the bath for X amount of time or a shower, I'm going to take that and then go and sit somewhere else quietly. This lady used to go and sit in her bedroom and spend that time there with a notebook and pen, and she would just write whatever came to mind. So I hope that's helped, sharing that little analogy.
I'm looking at some of these comments, and I want to say a couple of things. First of all, this one, and please understand that we're not belittling your situation at all in giving the alternatives that we're sharing. What we're really trying to share is the shift in perspective. So all of the reasons, because we've both been in narcissistic relationships, right? So all of the reasons, such as, being controlled, having, someone, the threat of losing everything, taking things away, if you leave them, that is, that's something that we have experienced. The only reason that we can speak of it, and not to share too many stories, but I'm going to share a little of my experience as well. And it was very guided and helped by the angels. But here's the thing, no matter how much help we get, and I know it's very different from the other side. So, when you're in the situation, what I'm saying is going to sound very different. What we're sharing is going to sound like impossible, because it's like you're down in this dark well. But the truth is each and every one of us has to find our own way out. We have to climb our way out. And that means that we have to make choices that are beyond the reasons that we have, that are our limitations for why we can't do something. I was in a relationship for 7 years, and it started out wonderful. It was both of our faults that it didn't go well. But, the person that I was with was, essentially a narcissist. And I moved out of the country to live with this person. I worked for his family company for years and did not get paid, because they were only allowed to pay 3 Americans. So I did the work for free because I didn't want to be living off of him, and I wanted to be contributing. I put off graduate school for psychology. I put off my dancing career. I went almost 8 years without having anything on my resume. In the end, you see, my spirits and angels had been telling me, my angel guides and spirits had been telling me for 6.5, 7 years, you need to leave this relationship in every way possible. And I did not, because I saw the good in it, because we had the dogs, because of all the good things, right? But in truth, I didn't realize I was losing my friends. I was losing my relationship opportunities. I'd left another relationship to pursue this relationship. I lost time with family. I moved out of living with my grandmother, who is my very best friend and best roommate. And it wasn't until later I realized all the things I'd given up to be in a relationship with this person. But the worst part was I didn't realize that the longer I waited, which is what my angels and spirit guides were trying to tell me, stop waiting, stop waiting, stop waiting. But I kept thinking, it'll get better. It'll get better. We'll fix it. I've got to wait. And then it got so bad. It was like, well, now I got to wait till I have a job and I have money because I have no place to live because his company wasn't paying me. He had all my savings in his account. I didn't have a car. I had his car, which he was going to take away from me. I had all these animals and no place to live. So I couldn't be out on the street with my animals, right? So all of these things prevented me from leaving the relationship because it was terrifying. And I felt powerless. But the problem is that the longer I waited, the worse it got. When we don't choose for ourselves, and I'm going to say this twice, when we do not make the tough decisions for ourselves, life makes it for us. We eventually, if you're not in alignment with the person that you're with, or they're not good for you, eventually that will come to an end. And the mind finds it easier to be in a victim place and have it happen to us than it does to make the choice. It's very hard to make the choice. It's like trying to poke yourself with a needle, right? It's easier to have someone else give you a shot than give it to yourself. Or someone else pull the Band-Aid off than to do it yourself. But the truth is that if I hadn't waited so long to get out of that relationship, I would have had a few months of heartache. I would have been able to, I wouldn't have had to file bankruptcy. I would have been able to have, if saved money, gotten my own car. I would have had time to, get a relationship 10 years earlier than I ended up having a relationship that I wanted. And it took me 10 years to recover from that breakup because I waited over 6 years to make the choice. So I just want to put that out there. Hi, Tia. Welcome.
Yeah.
We do understand where you're coming from, but please know that all the reasons that are there for you, that are keeping you where you feel you're stuck, you're not really stuck. It does seem that way, and we know that. I mean, I feel for you like I cannot express.
Yeah.
But you're also on here to try to help get some guidance and inspiration and direction. And both from our experience and from angels and spirit, understand that the power has to come from within you to do that thing you think you can't do, no matter what you think the consequences are, because it always ends up being better than the consequences of life shoving you there. Okay. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Thank you.
It's very difficult words.
Yeah. That's just touching one more little thing and then we'll move on to see if anybody else. What I wanted to say, they're just reading about, she literally has no time for herself. And I do thank you for staying and listening to us as well, Jenny. I appreciate that. We can say all we like, we have no time. My question, and I guess my inspiration that's coming through here is to find ways to offer you little hints and tips, if you like, little bits of guidance from the angel that's coming in. I'm feeling very strongly connected to Michael at the moment. He is such a powerful angel and he has such great energy. So I do feel that things like calling on a particular angel, let's say we're working with Archangel Michael, he is so powerful. He has such a lovely energy. They all do in their own different ways, not, but it's just the one thing that I kept hearing being said over and over is, again, while you're at work, there will be a moment in the day where you get a break. Now, I don't know where you work. I don't know what your environment around you is like. But what I'm being inspired to say to you is, even if you can get outside of the building for 5 or 10 minutes and take a walk, go out and breathe the air that's around you, you know, just take in what's going on around you. You know, if there's a little park area somewhere like that where there's a little bit of nature. I mean, you might be in the middle of a built up city. I genuinely don't know. But just something that takes you out of that environment, out of that workspace, moves you into a place where you have got just that 5 or 10 minutes for yourself. And this is what I said just now. You won't maybe get instant responses straight away, but in doing that, what you're then showing your guides, your angels, the inspiration, the universe, what you're showing is that you're taking action to help start to make the changes that you want to make. And when you do that, little bite-sized pieces at a time, baby steps, you might find you get some guidance. Something comes into you and you just think, I need to just go and check out this. Or somebody comes along and offers you a leaflet to read. You know, you don't know where this guidance is going to come from until you open yourself up to receive it. And the only way you can do that is going back to the very start of this conversation, shift the mindset, change the way you're thinking and feeling about the situation, and allow yourself 5 minutes of time each day to just be you, to just have your time for you, and allow that energy to begin to flow.
Just a little too. It doesn't have to be a lot.
It doesn't have to be a lot. No, baby steps. We're not asking you, you know, to jump off the bus straight away or do whatever, but because you need to also find yourself in that right energy, that right frame of mind, if you like, for want of a better phrase. And at the moment, you're not in that space. You're in the I can't space. With these little bits of inspiration, guidance, if you choose to take them on and do them, you'll start to find that you will shift that mindset to, actually, I'm open to receiving. Doesn't have to be an instant from I can't to I can. I don't like the word can't. I don't believe that there is a thing as I can't. You can do whatever you choose. But in this instance, you have to give yourself that time to process into that. So
I can't is only I haven't yet.
Yeah.
And on the other side of that is I am empowered. I am creating a new reality.
So right. I'm just going to share now that lovely Suzanne shared here. When I left my relationship, I found a lovely man who took responsibility of my son too. And we had over 30 years of marriage until he passed away 7 years ago. I was so glad I made that decision to leave that relationship. And I think we can all say we've all had a relationship that hasn't worked out for one reason or another. My first marriage, well, yeah, that's another story for another time, but very similar situation. And as much like Larkin said, you know, when you choose to stay in something and it's not the right energy flow to be in, the universe in its own lovely way will pull the rug out from under your feet. Mine did it to me. It took me 5 years to get to that point, and the universe pulled the rug out under my feet. And I moved away from that relationship. I went from the I can't. You know, what held me in my relationship was the thought process of what my parents would think if I left, because of all the dynamics that had gone on between. So it is ultimately about thinking to yourself, yes, I'm going to make this choice. I'm going to shift this energy. I'm going to take baby steps towards changing it, and just allow that to be the start.
That reminds me, Susie, you know, I want to share the angelic and spirit perception and purpose of struggle and suffering. When we're struggling and suffering, it's a message to us. It is a message and an opportunity. And I know, for myself included, that's like, what? That doesn't seem right. Because we live in a world where we all talk about and, you know, complain or listen to one another. We all have these things that we share that we're struggling with, and we lean on each other for support. But life will, you know, I'm trying to think of the right way to share this, and so I can share it in a way that that Spirit wants you all to see. Eckhart Tolle describes struggling as effort laced with emotion. So that's the resistance, right? When we are in situations that are not just a fleeting situation, but they're ongoing to the point where we suffer, that is always a message and an indicator to us that we are missing making decisions that we need to, that will empower us. They are there intentionally, because if we did not have those challenges, we could not grow and remember who we are and become the best version of ourselves. We could remember who we are, but we wouldn't step into being the best versions of ourselves as human beings. Whatever we have to get through as a human being. So when you're suffering, whether it be a relationship or whatever, just remember, okay, if I'm suffering, because life doesn't want me to suffer, source doesn't want me to suffer. So if I'm suffering, then I myself as a human being am unaware of some choices or the power of choice that I have. And I'm trying to figure out what direction to go. And all you have to do, like you're wrapped in a cocoon to get out, the butterfly just starts wiggling a little bit to loosen it up so it can get out. And like Susie was talking about, one little step at a time. You just have to loosen your situation enough from the inside that you can be open enough to let the opportunities, they're actually already there for you. And this is true for all of you, not just for Jenny. She's just a great example for us here. Loosen it up enough that you can let those other possibilities in. Okay. Yes, you're welcome.
Sure. Yeah, you're
welcome.
This
is wonderful because everybody can learn from the things that we're all sharing.
Yeah.
What you brought to our attention today.
And I always love how when people come into these and we share their comments, you know, how many of us have all been through very similar situations, circumstances. So I think that in itself, for me, is always sort of heartwarming, because it then just takes you from that space of thinking, I'm the only person in the world this is happening to. Yes. I'm alone. And, you know, yes, you might be physically alone in that you don't have family or friends around you. But in reality, for me, we're never alone. We've always got our angels and guides and the energy of the universe, God, whoever you believe in, whatever you believe in, the divine, you know, that energy is always around us, ready and waiting to support and guide us. But also just knowing that other people go through these situations as well and come out, as you know, Suzanne beautifully shared there, happily married for 30 years. You know, there's always an experience to be had and an outcome to be made from the decision and choices that we make. And quite often that will always be for the betterment of us, you know, to help us grow and evolve.
And I think too, guys, just remember, this is about taking your power back. You know, when we perceive something on the external or a person that is, you know, trying to establish control over us, I know how it seems, but understand that they only have that control over you if you give it away. You might not recognize how you're allowing it and what you may have to do to not allow it once it gets past a certain point may be undesirable. But it's worth it, because ultimately they don't really hold your power. You have the power to take that back. And when you do, your life becomes so much better for it. You know, it may be initially painful, but then life improves. Once you get over that initial shock and healing part,
yeah,
life gets so much better because you're a whole different person with a whole different perspective. And you're giving examples to your children and those around you as to the power they can have. I mean, I'm so much more of a confident person than I was 20 years ago.
Me too.
You know? And it's so liberating to not be insecure and scared every day about things.
For sure.
It's just wonderful.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
One of you. And so do the angels. They want that for you guys.
Absolutely. Thank you, Maria. Mwah. Much love to you, Angel. Yeah, thank you.
Blessings to all of you guys. I think I know we have run a little bit over today as well, but I think I would love to, this has been a deep and intense conversation today.
Absolutely, yes.
I'd like to take it a little more lighthearted as far as giving you guys ways you can, interact with your angels and spirit guides before we pop off. Did that bring some things to mind, Susie? Are there things you want to share?
Oh, what, just doing something lighthearted and fun.
Yeah.
Well,
go ahead.
I was one of the things that I was thinking about before we came on live, and I don't know why, but it was just to talk a little bit about angel altars. It was always a big question that I got asked when I used to do my lives more regularly than I have been recently.
I bring my little mobile one with me every time I go live and do readings.
Absolutely. And for me, you don't have to go over an altar, a space, sacred space, whatever you want to call it, can be as small as you want, can be as humongous as you want. It can be indoors, outdoors, it can be wherever you choose it to be, because all it is about just making that flow of energy something. So like today, I set up this little table just behind me. Now that doesn't normally live there. That's one of my coffee tables for when I'm sat in my living room, and I just placed a candle, one of my crystals on it, a beautiful rose quartz angel, and a journal. Because for me, journaling is very important now. It's something that I like to do, not as regularly as perhaps I could or should, but I do it when I feel drawn to it. So an altar for me is very much about just making it a space that has things on it that resonate with you, that make it something personal to you, and that connection that you want to make with the angels, and I also know as well, sometimes you can be living in a place with other people who perhaps don't always have the same attitude of mind as you have around this. So it's about making it a little bit sort of inconspicuous, if you like, is perhaps the word I'm looking for. So it can be, a windowsill somewhere, and it can just be a few little plants or crystals, whatever. It doesn't have to be anything major. But the nice thing about having your space to go there is it sets an intention. It helps you to then make that little connection. I mean, I used to go do agency work, which meant I traveled away from home quite a lot. And I bought myself a lovely little suitcase made out of cardboard, and it was all covered in flowers, and it was really pretty. And I nestled a load of tissue paper in it. And I used to carry little bits and pieces in there so that when I went away, I could open it up, and then inside was my little angel figure and a picture, or, whatever. I wasn't allowed to burn candles or incense or anything like that. So I just took a little bit of aromatherapy oil, used that. So there's always ways of making a space to work with your altars. And it really is just setting the intention. Some people will say that you can sit there and write and then just leave that letter, because people often ask me, well, how do I make that communication? Whatever way you want to, be it talking in your head to them, talking out loud to them, and you talk to them as if they're just a friend, like Larkin and I would have a conversation offline. That's how you talk to your angels or your spirit friends. So yeah, just make it, I think just infuse it with some light-hearted energy and fun, and make it sort of sparkly for you, and do whatever you want. So that's just my little bit of light-hearted inspiration for connecting with angels.
It's very casual for us. I mean, and that's something that I really want to encourage is, if your interaction, I mean, like when I was in my narcissistic relationship, which I mean, I've dated quite a few people that were that way. But the point is that there was always this casual conversation going on with me. I mean, my whole life there has been. That's my way of life with my spirit guides and my angels. I was always having side conversations with them.
Yeah.
And so, you never feel alone when you have that. You have this support, right? And so if you can make it positive and, like Jenny's talking about crystals here, if you can create a space, it may be something you don't have a space in your life for right now, whether that be physical space, like, Susie was talking about, it could be physical, it could be in your head, however it is, energetically, you want to create the space for that, the space for them, the space for that relationship, for them to be in your practical, down to earth, everyday life in a very practical way.
Okay, so one of the things I'd like to say to Jenny about putting your crystals out, have you got plants? Do you have plants in the house? Because if you have, you could pop some crystals just on the top, in and around the plants, so it's somewhere where he maybe wouldn't see them so obviously. There's always places that you can find, if you can't put them out, get a little pouch for them and carry a few around with you in your own pocket or in your handbag, whatever, backpack. I mean, you have a lovely little baby, so maybe the baby's got a baby changing bag. Yes. So if you've got one that hangs in the kitchen, perfect. Pop some crystals in there. The beauty of crystals is you know that they're there. So that's great. Your intention is that you've got them there and you want their vibrational energy to emanate around the home. Crystals can almost be referred to as being holographic. So what I mean is they emit their energy around, and you don't actually have to be holding it for its energy to be around you. So I place this around the house, and if I'm setting the intention that I want to work with the energy of this clear quartz, I know that that's what's happening because it just emanates around the house. As crystal therapists, when we work with crystals, not everybody likes crystals actually placed physically on their body. So what you can do is you can place them underneath the therapy bed, under pillows, around whatever, on the floor, and the energy of that crystal will come up and work. So I would say if you're being drawn to working or having your crystals around you, find little places that you can pop them where they can't be seen immediately, but they're there. I've got them dotted around in all my plant pots. I've got them in my garden. They can be wherever you want them to be. But if you're wanting to work with a crystal, particularly as well, Jenny, what I'm being drawn to say to you is start working with rose quartz.
Yes, I couldn't wait. I was going to say, next thing I'm going to say is you've got to get rose quartz. That's what was coming in so strong for me because it's self-love. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
No, carry it. No, that was it. That was what I was drawn to say, and the rose quartz just popped out. So that's why.
We may share things differently, but we always get the same information for you. And that was coming in so strong, rose quartz, because it's about self-love too. It's unconditional love. It's self-love. So it will help you. And, it's also good like for readings. And then there's an earth quartz that I have. And when I first started reading for groups and reading professionally, it was like I was so confident and I was so spot on. But as soon as I have a reading that I had to do, I would be so nervous if it was like a professional reading I was charging for. And I remember one of the things that helped me was I would hold rose quartz in my hand. And wow, I felt so different. Like you can feel the frequency, or then I'd slide it into my pocket. And, it really is quite amazing what they do. And I want to share this too before we get off. I don't know what it's called, Susie. So I want to say, is it aggregate or the little shiny black solid? It almost looks like shiny black coal.
Okay.
You know what that's called?
I'm sensing that's black tourmaline.
Oh, maybe it is. I don't know. I had a reader years ago. Maybe.
Let me grab my piece and we'll just see.
25 years ago, and I was at a psychic type festival, and then I had this reading with this lady away from the festival, and she said, well, you need to wear this necklace. And she gave me this beaded necklace with these little black beads on it. I have all the pieces somewhere in a box. I couldn't keep it together and on my body. And it had a cat made of the same thing that hung in the middle.
Oh. So that's a biggish piece, and that's it in its raw state.
It might be. Is it heavy? These are made at like. Is it heavy? Oh, that's gorgeous.
Oh yeah, it can be. It's relatively heavy.
These weren't like super shiny, but they were made into beads and a necklace.
Yes.
And you know, I could, and I'm sharing this with you guys because I want you to understand how they carry energy and how we are electromagnetic energy. I must have not been supposed to wear this because I could not keep this on my body for the life of me. She put it on me. I wore it, for 3 days. I took it on and off. It would explode off of my neck. I fixed this thing 5 times and put it back on. She's like, it will ground you. It will help you. I did feel different, but it wasn't just like the back came off and all the beads rolled off. I would just be standing there and it would explode off my neck and everything would fly everywhere. So finally I decided, well, this is obviously, I'm going to keep it because I love the cat and I love the beads, but I'm obviously not supposed to be wearing it on my body. Right. So, it could have been my energy. I have a tendency to do that with things. But, something about my energy was saying, nope, this is not for you.
It happens. When it's something you don't need to be working with a particular crystal, it can do that.
But the other thing this will do, guys, oh, sorry, I just want to throw this out, Jenny. The other thing this will do too is it actually, it really holding or working with the crystals, I have found also helps really strengthen your sensitivity to energies. So you're just awareness of, like you can hold an amethyst and you can hold a rose quartz and you can feel how different they are and you can feel how different you feel. And I think that's a pretty neat thing, a level of awareness for us all to come to.
Yeah. So quite often, aside from, if there's a flaw with the bracelet,
Oh no. Every time I get a bracelet with crystals, it breaks in the first week. Wow.
It's quite often that what happens with crystals when you're working with them, if like pieces of jewelry break, it's probably because at that time, whatever energy you're emitting and the crystal is working with to help balance that energy. We talk about healing, but it's more a balancing of the energy than an actual healing process, because that's a whole thing again. That's another topic we can talk about and share about. But in the moments that crystals break or won't stay on our body, it's because I guess, well, I'm not guessing, I know it's done its job. It's done the work that it needed to do in that moment. So, black tourmaline, they're very much about grounding, but they're also very much about absorbing, and I don't like the word negative, but it's the only word I can use, negative energies. So thoughts that are coming up, energy that we're emitting that's not really balancing us will be absorbed by the crystal. And when it's done its job, it will either just disappear, as often happens with mine. They disappear for ages and then they come back. And I know I've got to start working with them again. Or it's because it's absorbed the energy, it's brought the balance into that particular part of the body. And we could go into all the nuances of the meridians and chakra points and all of that. But again, that was, So
I didn't need it, is what you're saying. I no longer need it. So
you don't need it. No, whatever it was doing in that moment, it cleared that energy, it brought the balance back in. And then it's like, right now, I'm off as well, That
was great. That's brilliant.
One of the things that I have when I'm working, if somebody's working with me, so I remember I went on this course and we were doing some crystal therapy on each other and we were pendulum dowsing the chakras and all of this. And I could feel it. The lady that I was working with, as a lady with my eyes closed, she was dowsing over my chakras and I could feel this throb at my third eye. It was just thump, thump, thump. And she had a beautiful clear quartz pendulum that she was using. I could feel the sensation in all of my body. But when she got to my third eye, it was like, and my whole third eye just went and stopped. And she said the actual pendulum crystal just flung itself to the side. And she said, every time I tried to come close to your third eye and your crown, she said, it just went away. And I said, I could feel it, because for whatever reason, I either didn't need or didn't want the energy of that crystal on my third eye and my crown. Yet when she used a different crystal, I had a different impact. So it's all about what's needed in the moment as well.
Definitely.
So
wow.
yeah, but yeah, crystals will, you know, if you're doing like placing them on your body, and if they move, this is why I don't subscribe to the practice that you only use certain crystals on certain parts of the body or on certain chakras, because I know from experience I could place a rose quartz on my heart and it could end up down by my feet, because that's where the energy needs to be to balance it. So I work intuitively with mine. So yeah, so there's lots to be said about the fun of working with crystals.
Yeah, and also with crystals, guys, it's so pure and it's so clear. Like, so, you know, one of the things too is your electromagnetic energy and your mood, the intensity of your electromagnetic energy can really affect it. So, like, I remember being at a party that I was hosting with an ex of mine, and we had about 40, 50 people there. And there was one girl that was, they were sitting in the living room, and there was a glass table in the middle, and there were wine glasses there, crystal wine glasses. And one girl was just really, really out of line. And I remember sort of detaching and observing her, not as the ego Larkin that I am, but as the being that I am when I'm not here. And I whoop into this power, and I was just watching her. And I guess my energy got all focused from that, from the conscious being that I am, not my ego. And it hyper focused my electromagnetic energy. And I remember thinking to myself as a being, okay, you're in my house. That's inappropriate. You're done. And I walked over, and the table was about, probably a 4 foot by 4 foot table. It was huge. And her glass was sitting kind of on her side. And I walked over and I looked her right in the eye. And I remember my third eye focusing on her. I was not intending on doing anything physical, but there were about 12 people sitting around the table. This glass just exploded. The whole thing. Nobody touched it. It just flew up in the air, and it was right in between the line between me and her. And I had looked at her, and my intention was, you are done, no more. And the glass exploded. Everybody'd been chatting. They all stopped. Nobody acknowledged what happened. No, everybody just shut up. And we cleaned up the glass. And I just looked at her. As soon as it happened, I looked at her and I gave her this little smirk, like, see, do we understand we're done? She was the best behaved guest the rest of the evening. But
yeah, I think I would be as well.
That shocked me. And I had to remember, okay, I've got to wield in my power here, because it wasn't until years later. I mean, this was a long time ago. It wasn't until years later I realized it was my electromagnetic energy. And that's the same way that angels and spirit guides and loved ones can manipulate things in the physical. But crystal is a very easy thing with electromagnetic energy. I don't want to say easy thing, but it's one of the things that, you know, because it holds energy and moving energy so well, that it just absorbed my energy and poof. So keep that in mind when you're talking about the crystal. Yeah.
Absolutely. Hi, Ward. Hi, Anessa. Thank you for joining us. I've just popped Ward's. I think he's not quite finished it because it's sort of coming up. But he says, yeah, reminds me of a vision I had of being a theology scholar, possibly a Christian monk or priest. Though in that particular life, I was a monk invaded by a powerful force, not necessarily Rome, but an invasive entity. Taken as a slave from lush forests, I witnessed a hidden pagan-like way of conducting things that contradicted the invading force's image. It expanded my perspective, revealing that answers to my prayers came through this stark contrast. I'm just hoping that he's going to type the rest of this experience instilled a something.
It probably takes a while. I think he probably is. Yeah.
But
wow, this is fascinating. I'm tuning into you as you're saying this. Yeah, I'm totally getting that. You have a very good, clear past life memory here. This is really cool. For me, I go there with the person. So I find this super fun because it's like watching a movie, you know, it's like, that's really fun. Oh, there you go.
There we go. So instilled a realization that I'm not an end point in the cycle of existence. Instead, I exist in the middle, embodying both polarities, much like the coexistence of yin and yang within one entity. No, not way too long at all, Ward. That's fabulous. Thank you for sharing. I'm going to be brief on this one because for me, past life work is however it comes to us, be it through our own meditation and vision work, or be it through a process of hypnotherapy. I love it. But the one thing that I love about past life is exactly what you've said here. It's given you an expanded vision of realization of who, what, and where you are in this reality that we live in at the moment. For me, past life work is very much about what we learn during that experience of going into that life, what we come out of it with, and how it impacts us in this lifetime, and how we can work with that. My past life experiences that I had gave me a lot of realization about where I was in my life. Again, one of them was very much about being the yes person, being the wallflower, being the yes boss, how high do you want me to jump? To then have the realization that that much loyalty should only be for yourself to then work outwards with, not to give away to somebody else, which is what I was doing in a job that I was in at that time. So thank you for sharing this. It's amazing. It's wonderful, and could be a whole topic for one of these. But we have got to move on.
Thank you. We'll see you. Yeah, I want to hop in on this too. I just saw Jenny was leaving. Yes, this is wonderful. Ward, thank you so much for your contribution and sharing here. I second, I mean, everything Susie said is so true. And what is so beautiful and actually refreshing to see someone, you know, I think you summed it up very well. It's not easy to write all of that. So it wasn't too long at all. I feel like this is so refreshing for people to see that this is what, you know, past life memories are meant for. And not everyone can. What I find is that a lot of people will go to a past life regression. Often they won't have visions of the past or remember things until they have a past life regression, but then often they're sucked into that and they get really hung up on that past instead of applying it and moving forward into this life. And what's so refreshing about yours is not only the clarity of what you remember and the purpose that it had, but as Susie mentioned already, how you're applying it in this lifetime. And really that's the evolution of, you know, of that cosmic memory. And it's part of remembering who we are as a big picture, which everyone isn't always ready for. But I know for me, it's made a world of difference, you know, because I remember who I am. And when I can see and experience these different lifetimes, it all just comes together as a big picture. So that's very important. Let's see. Sorry, I'm scrolling down comments here.
Yeah, so Nessa says, unfortunately, that's also been a struggle of mine, giving my energy away unconsciously and finding myself drained and low energetically. So again, that is another whole thing that we could talk about and share. But one of the things that I would share with you here, Anessa, is particularly because I love crystals, is finding crystals that will help you to protect your energy field in that way. But a lot of our protection that we bring in, yes, we can use these beautiful holistic tools such as crystals, calling on Archangel Michael for our protection. We can use them, but the basis of all protection that we can put in place for ourselves is keeping our physical body balanced, keeping our mind and our emotions balanced, because all of this is energy. Everything we have in our life, around us, within us, is all energy. And we need to have balance in that energy field to then be able to keep that protection in place. So it's not just about using the tools, it's about implementing the mindset work that you can have, putting in boundaries. You say you give your energy away, so where are your boundaries? Do you say no to people? People come in as empaths, spiritual bodies. We want to help others, we want to be able to share and give, but when we give away, that's where we get drained as well. So there's a whole aspect of all of this to look at in respect of why your energy is being drained in that way. Where are you giving it away? What are you doing excuse me that you can do to change that? And the big thing that's coming in intuitively around this for you, without using all these tools, is boundaries. There's something about you needing to set boundaries with those around you
and enforce them.
Yeah
That can be the hard part. Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay, go ahead.
There was an echo, I guess. I wasn't sure if it was you or me. So beautifully said. I think I love to kind of summarize things up. So, Susie shares these beautiful things, and then I love to just package it up and kind of summarize it. No one and nothing can take your power unless you allow it, no matter how it seems. And the problem is we don't recognize we're allowing it. No one can take your true power, but when our mindset has been programmed, that 95% of your mind you're not aware of is programmed in a way that by being a kind person or a nice person or avoiding conflict or wanting to feel like you're not hurting someone or disappointing someone, or you fear their reaction or their opinion, all of these things are ways in which we are being a good person and we're trying to do the right thing, but we actually end up giving our power away. And we then become comfortable doing those things, and it becomes part of our personality and the way that we are. And the next thing you know, we find ourselves being drained, and we feel lost, and we don't really know how to reclaim that power. So, as we mentioned, I think it was before you got on, actually, Anessa, that one little step at a time. We don't have to make quantum leaps all the time. Sometimes those happen for us naturally as we move forward and take steps. They happen to us as we have huge shifts in our consciousness. But on a day-to-day basis, just one little tiny shift at a time can make the world of difference, because your life, believe it or not, as a human being, even though you're this multifaceted being in human form, it has to also make practical steps and choices. And so your life is the result of habits and repetition. And that begins with your thoughts and your beliefs, and then your choices and action and your self-talk. So when we work on mindset, we work on that reprogramming. And then we set ourselves up to go ahead and take these steps, right? And sometimes it just means the action. Sometimes it just means maybe we're a yes person and, making the opposite choice and saying, okay, today I know so-and-so is going to invite me to do this, and I really don't want to do it. And I'll just focus on saying no. And like for me, the first few times I did this, it came out weird. Like I literally had to say to someone, I don't know how to say this. And by then I already jumped in the hot water, right? I already brought the elephant out in the room. So then that allowed me to spit it out the rest of the way. I don't know how to say this. I'm probably going to be mad, and all my fears, but no, it was out. And then the next time, all I had to do was say, I hate to do this to you, but no. And then the fourth or fifth time, I was just saying no. So those are just ways you can practically inch your power. And again, I mean, we're talking about angels in action here, right? We're talking about working with spirit. So you can always ask the angels and your spirit guides, okay, guys, let me know you got my back. Because confidence doesn't come through thinking about it and waiting for it. Confidence comes through action. But you can ask the angels and your spirit guides to help give you that support or help you notice those moments that are opportunities for you to step into their power.
Definitely. Yeah. Suzanne's sharing, I feel being surrounded by negativity drains the energy. And yes, it does, and it can do. What you can, what
have to, but it can.
It can, yeah. It's about, for me personally, it's very much about the thought processes that I choose. So if I know that I'm going into an environment that will have negativity for whatever reason around me, and again, it depends on what that is. I mean, I work in a cafe bistro bar, so the energy of people who've been drinking alcohol can be quite a drain if you allow it to be. So for me, it's about, I don't allow that energy to impact me. So that's a choice that I make. And I just know that by making that choice, I've set that intention that I'm not going to have that happen. It doesn't happen. How or why that works, I can't say. I don't, Larkin will be able to help you there. I work on my intuition. But if you want to look at tools in ways to help you with that, then we're looking at, as I said, calling in on Archangel Michael to bring in that, surround you with that bubble of protection. Crystals such as amethyst are very good at protecting you from negative energies coming in and around you. The tourmalines that I've just shared here, tiger's eye is another one, labradorite is another one. There are lots of crystals that you can find that will help you with that as well. Aromatherapy oils will enhance your own mental and emotional state, because sometimes when we go into a situation thinking, oh, this is going to be negative, this is going to drain my energy, then poof, in an instant, that's what's going to happen, because we've already set the bar. We've already said that's what's going to happen because of. Whereas if we go in and into an environment and go, I know there's going to be some energy around here that's not going to be ideal for me, it's not going to suit my energy, therefore I am going to be in a space where it doesn't impact me. You've already set the bar for yourself, if that makes sense.
So as you were speaking, answers were coming into me that I did not know. I didn't know prior to this. And I'm learning a lot through, what you just shared, Susie, is amazing. I learned so much listening to you. But as Susie was speaking, Spirit was also sharing things with me, because we learn a lot of, what Susie and I share with you, a lot of this stuff we learn through Spirit as it's talking to us, as it's answering people's questions. And so that's really cool. But one of the things that came in as well is that we are more susceptible to negative, like everyone's energy body, their ethereal body is outside of them. And so are your thoughts. So like even now, Susie's and my thoughts are touching, even though we're across the pond, doesn't matter. Time and space doesn't really exist. So we're still impacted. When you walk down the street or you sit in a restaurant, everybody's thoughts are intermingling. So if people say to me, well, how can you read thoughts? Well, I'm not invading people's heads. I'm not trying to. We project our thoughts and feelings. And sometimes I just have to turn that off, not interested in that. I can choose not to focus on it. But everybody's thoughts and feelings are outside of themselves as well. And so when if you feel like you're being surrounded by negative energy and you feel like it's draining you, and this is very consistent as a human being for everyone, okay, you might experience it differently, but this will give you a clue into how to sort of monitor that, and it may take practice. When we pick up on negative energy and we give it our attention and we focus on it, and it starts our mind thinking. Now, remember, guys, I'm going to remind you about this because this is what's important here. Your consciousness, your eternal consciousness, your higher self, your wisdom, and then your mind, and then your brain, right? Your mind's in between your consciousness and your brain. The brain's going to process, get the nervous system all going. You're going to get all tense. You're going to feel exhausted. You're going to feel drained. You're going to feel stressed out. That's your brain processing what your mind is perceiving. Okay. So if your mind, your energy picks up, oh, that person's negative. And then your mind goes, uh-oh. Remember, your mind is synonymous with your ego, which is synonymous with resistance. Okay. This comes from Eckhart Tolle. So this is true. So what happens is as soon as you flag something as negative, your 95% of your mind that you're not aware of, make note of that. It does the mind and the body, which is your emotion, and all of a sudden you start to react. Now, if you detach, like I typically do, people's negative energy don't affect me very much at all. This is not me being egotistical. This is me using myself as an example for you. And this took a lot of hard work, guys, decades of remembering who I was and realizing this. Okay, this wasn't overnight. Anyone can do this. Almost anyone can do it. Detaching and observing. Oh, I am observing. Wow, how fascinating, with curiosity. That person has a really negative energy about that. If I have an emotional reaction to that, a mental or emotional response to that, and I get sucked into that, that is when it can drain my energy, latch on to me and affect me. But if I am only observing as consciousness and I don't get emotionally involved in it, it can't touch, it doesn't bother me. I don't need protection for it. Okay. So this is one way you can begin practicing that. When you notice that you're surrounded by negative energy, that you might not be referring to people, Suzanne, you might just feel like it's energies or entities, but it's the same thing. You go where your focus goes. And in our society, we are not taught that we have this power. We are not taught that we have this choice. I am just, Susie and I are both just here to remind you guys, you do. And you have all this love and these angels and these spirit guides and these loved ones that are giving you just as much or more energy than any negative entities or people around you. It is a choice. You just don't realize it yet. One last thing, as I've mentioned before on here, you can put energy protection bubbles around you if you want. Those help as well. Those definitely help. But as you start doing those, also start finding your own white light inside. Okay. As I mentioned on a couple of programs already this week, I don't do that anymore. I don't need to put the bubbles around me, because my white light, my inner light, when it senses something negative or threatening, it's automatic now. I just radiate my light. It's just a feeling. I just put it out, and it cannot drain me. It cannot affect me. But if you let yourself get sucked into a conversation or a story or someone else's drama, or, you're letting someone overtake from you, cross your boundaries, then you're letting them in. Okay. So those are just a couple ways in which you can begin protecting yourself as a consistent way of life without having to feel that they're invading your space. I see your cards. Yeah, you ready?
Yes.
We've gone way over today.
Yeah, I think our hour-long show is going to be a 2-hour-long show.
Yeah,
I think we need to come to that realization now, seeing as it's happened. Was it 3 weeks on the trot?
Yes, that's right. Such a wonderful audience.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been amazing. Thank you, everybody who's popped in, and the wonderful conversations that we've had and been able to share. For those of you that come and watch the replay, thank you so much for coming and spending time with us. It's just been wonderful. I have got a deck of cards. They arrived today. They're brand new. So I thought I would just share.
They're Susie cards.
Susie card. They're not.
Susie
yeah,
cards.
these are
yes.
These are a new deck by Kyle Gray. So I just thought I'd give them a shuffle and see what pops up. I'll just do maybe one or two as a collective rather than individuals, because I do appreciate that we both need to go and get something to eat in our different time scales.
I have 4 horses waiting on me about 40 minutes away. So, yeah.
Okay, so let's see. So the first one that we've got out is the blue beings. I don't know, where's my camera? Oh, there we go. And it says, light transmission, wounds healed, important information, charging up. And I love, I don't know about you, but I think that just blends perfectly with the conversation that we've had, you know, about wounds healing. We've had healing for our beautiful Samson, who was at the vets, and, you know, wounds healing, important information. I think that very much links with the conversation that we had with Jenny about her relationship situation. And I will just pull one more. So, Commander Ashtar.
Oh,
I know. Lovely, aren't they? Leadership activation, time to evolve, trust in your ability to guide others. And again, I think that's been an inspirational part of tonight's, or today, wherever we are in the world, sharing. You know, we're here. Larkin and I have come together to share with you our wisdom, our experience from our personal experiences, you know, and also from the guidance that we receive, which comes in when we sort of are open to receiving it and least expect it sometimes. But yeah, this isn't just about us. This is about each and every one of you. You know, you all have your own life experiences. You all have your own interests, and you are all an individual, unique light in this world that can go out and help others. And I do feel that that's what this card is saying as well. You know, if you're at that pinnacle point of not quite sure, wondering what you should be doing, where you're going, then now is your time. And that to trust in the fact that you have something to share that will help others.
Absolutely. I love Scotland, Suzanne. I miss living there. I lived there for over 4 years. I miss it so dearly. But yeah, it's so beautiful how, you know, the cards fit into what our discussion has been. And, you know, likewise, I just want to thank you all, you know, on behalf of your spirit guides and angels, you know. Absolutely. And, you know, Susie and I are, you know, we really want to help transform this whole reading and spiritual communication process for people, and hand you the power, help you remember who you are, the connections that you have. It's not about us. We're just being pointers for you to discover your own power and your own connection, and sharing our little stories and experiences along the way, so you realize that we too have struggled with this journey, and there's definitely light on the other side.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
definitely.
So don't forget to like this, so more people can find it if you enjoyed it, and to subscribe to the YouTube page that's brand new that we're trying to grow if you enjoyed this, because we're going to be having some new and more wonderful things about in the near future.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Larkin.
Okay. Thank you, Susie. Bye, everyone.
Have a wonderful afternoon, day, night, evening, wherever you are in the world. And we'll see you all next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.